Farmer, we're at the Unified School District 239 in Minneapolis, Kansas, talking to the Superintendent of Schools, Chris Veneri. Chris, it's been 2 years. How do you think things are going, and what's your opinion of your first 2 years here in the school district for 239?
It's been a great 2 years so far. Coming here to this community, it's a well-received community. It's a great place to be. Location-wise, it's a great place, but the people in this community are very supportive of the school system, and so that made the transition quite easy. Faculty here, staff, great people, work hard for our students. They definitely have the best interest of the students in mind with their job, so pretty pleased there.
What do you think the future is going to be like for the school district?
Well, I tell you what, the future, I'm pretty excited about the future. We have a lot of new things that we're putting into place. We have some, let's see here, different curriculum that we're getting ready to put in. We've got the bond issue that's going right now. We have the construction piece. We got the grade school's almost finished. It will definitely be ready to go at the start of the school year.
Good.
With the 4 additional classrooms.
Excellent.
So pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
That was something that with my first 2 years was my first year. Got to jump right into that. Actually, my first board meeting was to discuss the bond issue. And so that being my first time, that was kind of exciting, and got that opportunity about that. The state's new accreditation system, I think, is just great for schools. So as far as the future of that and our schools, I think that they're starting to say that state assessments, those tests, because we over-test our students, not just here, but all across the state.
Right.
Those tests are not becoming as important as they used to be. They're looking at a whole different ballgame now of what's important with our students, and so looking forward to that as part of the future.
That is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Will there be any change in faculty for next year?
Yes, actually, we do have we have 3 teachers, 2 teachers and a principal that have retired. Mrs. Joella Bergman, I think been in this district 26, 27 years. She's taught here. She was our forensics and debate teacher, sponsor. An amazing career just in that area alone. I don't know how many district or league titles that she has won, but it's an amazing, the students here that go through that program of hers. I tell you, they come out great because they get that opportunity to stand in front of people and get the opportunity to visit. She's done an excellent job with her English program and the forensics and debate program. Mr. Ken Shusky, I believe he's been in education for 40 years. He's been here for about 8 years. He was our Spanish and our math teacher. He's retiring to go home and farm, I believe, with his brother. He lives I believe they have a farm north of Tescott. And so, he's been a great asset for our building.
You bet.
And then our principal, Jay Macy, who grew up here in Minneapolis, and everybody knows, he's been in this business for probably, I think, 33, 34 years.
Wow.
He's retired and been the principal here the last 8 or 9 years, done an excellent job with this school, and all 3 of those people, and we have staff members that have not retired that are just like them, and it made this transition for me so much easier.
Oh, sure.
When you have great people.
You bet.
So we're in the process of replacing those 3, and look forward to who we bring in, just something different, but we will definitely miss all 3 of them. So.
Will there be any changes, as far as you know, in curriculum? Because that's something that comes up every year too.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a time, especially at the grade school, one thing that we are going to do different is our math curriculum. We're K6 curriculum with our math. We're looking at a different series, and I'm pretty excited about this series. I won't go too much into detail, but a lot of the way math is taught right now, math is taught with 5 plus 3. It's taught on paper. You see it. The kids look at it, they know the answer.
Right.
Okay, but not all kids learn that way. And some kids have to draw it out. Okay, so that's another way to learn and draw it out. But there's a third way that this new series that we've adopted, it's a concrete way. Okay, meaning they're going to take blocks and they're going to have what they call manipulatives. And these blocks, they might have a 5 plus 3, so they're going to actually take 5 blocks and then 3 blocks, and they're going to figure out that's 8.
So visual.
It's a visual, but touch. You know, touch as well, not just. and other kids learn that way. It is one more step to help kids learn math, and so we are excited about that. It's a higher level thinking math, but it'll be a challenge at first.
When do they start? What year?
Well, kindergarten.
Right, kindergarten. Cool.
Yep, and then it just builds on itself throughout the years.
Okay.
We're also introducing a new science curriculum for our elementary. It's called Engineering by Design, and it'll be a lot of hands-on. It'll be a lot of projects that the kids do, that they actually build things and then they bring in the concepts other than just a textbook.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
No, it's going to be good. We'll be looking at doing those two things. High school has a lot of different things. I've talked about it in past videos here, that some more hands-on science for them as well, incorporated throughout other classes. So we are excited about the changes there as well.
Well, getting back to the math, this is just a question I have. What about those students in the high school? Will they still continue to have the same curriculum in the math courses that they did when they first started out, or will the new system be instituted for them because they've gone through that already? And
correct.
So, I mean, that's a question I know people would be asking.
Absolutely. Maybe that's future down the road. We'll get a few years out with these kids here, and then as we go between now and then, we'll start looking at the curriculum. This new curriculum only goes up through 8th grade.
Super.
It's a K-8 program. Right now, we're going to have it in the K-6, and maybe a few years from now, we'll start to say, okay, does this process need to go up through 8th grade, or do we continue with what we're doing? So, yeah.
Anything else that we need to be covering that we haven't talked about today?
Well, as always, I think I've ended almost the last 2 or 3 shows with our state out in Topeka, and it is vitally important that we do our homework when we vote for people.
Yeah.
We've got people in Topeka that would rather see private schools. And okay, I don't see any private schools near Minneapolis,
No,
Kansas,
I don't either.
and
Not
so,
the last time I checked anyway. No.
So they're trying to divide some of the tax dollars up that generally go to public schools and send them on to private schools. And I tell you, the requirements for a private school, public school is not the same.
No.
And so it is unfortunate.
Can't be. Yeah.
They think we have a spending problem in schools. I don't believe so. I think schools are about as efficient as one can get.
Yeah.
Not everybody understands a budget of what you can spend certain dollars out of.
Right.
But I think it's important. When we vote, we need to understand if education is important to people. Know which way those dollars are going, know which people are voting for you. And so I think that's going to be important when the next election comes up. So
I think it's going to be critical. Because the future of our state depends on our educational system.
That's where it begins, absolutely.
Well, we'll be back in just a moment. Thank you, Chris, very much for your comments, and we'll be back in just a moment with another interview.
Tune in to Why Like Ike on Eagle Community Television Channel 2. Each month, Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum staff discuss aspects of President Eisenhower's life and administration and feature historic pictures and artifacts. That's Why Like Ike, only on Eagle Community Television Channel 2. Catch Abilene Means Business on Eagle Community Television Channel 2. Each month, Abilene Area Chamber of Commerce Executive Director James Holland discusses the local business scene with entrepreneurs and business leaders. That's Abilene Means Business, only on Eagle Community Television Channel 2.
Hi, we're back, and we're with John Hahn, who is the head football coach here at Minneapolis High School. Do you have a teaching position too, John? Or?
Yeah, I run all the strength conditioning in the school, so it's PE, strength conditioning. Mainly it's weightlifting classes.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. This is something before we went on the air that we were talking about that has taken sports, both in girls and boys, to a whole new level. Because when I was going to high school, I know I'm showing my age, but at that time we didn't know what strength conditioning was. I mean, you went out for football, you learned the traditional plays, and that was it. And now, if you don't have that strength and conditioning, you can't be competitive at the high school level. It's just taken it to a whole new level. What's the philosophy of the weight room here at Minneapolis High School?
The biggest thing for us, we're 3A high school.
Right.
So obviously, our athletes do every sport.
Yeah.
So most of them will start off the season either doing football or cross country or volleyball, and then they'll go right into basketball or wrestling, and then they go from that to track and baseball and everything like that. So, the main idea of what we have is that I'm trying to train an overall athlete.
Right.
So we don't focus on specific sports or anything like that. It's about training the overall athlete to make them as quick as we can, as flexible as we can. And a lot of that is based in Olympic, we were an Olympic type based weight training program, which means we do a lot of cleans and snatches, which are full body movements, kind of maximizes our time, in the weight room. And we get the most bang for our buck for all sports. So that's the overall philosophy, is that we're trying to train our athletes to be overall athletes, and then prevent injury.
Well, and there's a science to this. I mean, you can take, let's say, a smaller individual and focus on the muscles that's going to help them versus a bulky person who maybe their weight training is going to be maybe different, dependent upon their body structure. Isn't that correct? Yeah,
well, and it's funny you talk about the science, and we were talking about how, where we've came from and where we are now. A lot of the training started off with, this is what we did in the military, and we did push-ups and set-ups, and then we ran miles, and that's how everybody did it.
Yeah, right.
And which is what everybody knew.
Right. At that time, that was it.
Yeah, and now you've got some of the people there in the strength conditioning field, especially at the higher levels, are doctors that have, went through, could be a practicing doctor, but have chose to go into, the strength conditioning field and work on stuff like that. So, when I got into it and started looking into it, I was coaching football, and I'd played football in college and high school, and of course we lifted and everything. And I remember talking to our offensive coordinator. I'm like, I'll go get a strength conditioning certification. It's no big deal. I've lifted weights, easy.
Yeah, sure, nothing to it.
So I went in and I started looking into what it entailed, and I was like, man, I thought it was going to take me a couple weeks, and it ended up taking about a year to get through it and study all the material, because it gets really specific.
Oh,
which
it's
it should.
Complicated.
Yeah, which it should. And
you bet.
And we're finding better ways to train our athletes and make sure that we're keeping them healthy and strong and moving forward. So.
Well, there's less injuries when the strength training is done correctly, and let's face it, it's a terribly competitive. Sports today at the high school level is tremendously competitive, as you well know. Another thing that we need to talk about is women in sports and their conditioning. Whole different game there too, because that's gone up since many years ago to a real serious
and I think,
competitive area.
It's, everything kind of works through kind of a progression, and guys have started buying into this a little sooner, and it became, what I think people would say is a male thing to do is lift weights. But the reality is that female athletes, we ask them to do the same thing.
Just as competitive.
And just as competitive. We want them to be successful.
You bet.
We want them to go out there and play basketball and play volleyball, and they're doing a lot of the same things that our guys are doing. And there's still this idea out there that as a female that weightlifting is a guy thing, in some ways, and that if I lift a lot, well, I'm going to look like a guy, which is just not necessarily true.
No, it isn't true. I know that for a fact. If it's done right, there's no reason.
The biggest thing, and I've talked to some of our students in class about it, and there's a hormonal difference in estrogen and testosterone. You don't have enough testosterone to look like a guy, and that's why.
There you go.
And so what you'll do is maximize your potential. And then the other thing that I think, is really important that I don't think a lot of athletes and maybe even parents forget about is that, or maybe don't even know about, that our female athletes are 2 to 10 times more likely to sustain ACL injuries.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with hormonal, biomechanical type things. Their Q angle, which is their hip angle, their pelvises are a little bit different and it causes extra stress on the ACL. Now, like hormonal and physical, we can't really.
No.
We can't do anything about that. But the biomechanical we can. And that's why the weight training for a female athlete is so important. Now, it's important for all athletes, but I think sometimes we get lost in this idea that the female athlete does not need to train. But I would strongly disagree with that, and just push all of our athletes to come in and make sure that we're healthy. We're trying to compete, but more importantly that we're staying healthy.
And the key to it is the competitiveness, because if you don't do the weight training, in this day and age, you cannot compete. It's just that simple. It can't be done. Other activities that you're going to be doing this summer?
Well, and this is something we started last summer. Now, last summer we did, we called the Marines. They came up here and they were recruiting. There were a couple times they were up here, and I ended up talking to Staff Sergeant, I think, Smith. We talked because I was in the military before, and so talked to him a little bit, and he had brought up the idea about doing a combat fitness test, which we did. I said, yeah, let's bring them up.
Bet.
And, the way we do our cycles is we'll go 3 or 4 weeks where we're hitting it hard, and then we'll have a week where we kind of bring it back and let them kind of get their breath and then go hit it hard again. And during that week, we were kind of bringing it back. We had the Marines come up and run a combat fitness test. Now, at first, I think the guys were pretty pumped about it, and the girls were a little skeptical. But then when we got into it, I think the girls actually enjoyed that more than the guys did. But everybody had a really good time, and it was a fun type event that we did. This summer, we're going to do that again, and then we've got Jake Sharp is going to come up and run a speed camp for us. We did some volunteer work for him to help raise money over in Salina, and so that was kind of the quid pro quo thing. Is that we did that for him, and he's going to come over.
Great athlete.
And great athlete, great guy. He's actually trained some of our athletes, on the side to help with some things that we can't get done in our 40-minute block or 50-minute block. That he helps with some additional stuff, which is great. And he's going to come up and put on a speed clinic for us sometime this summer. Another thing that we'll do that's throughout the school, you have basketball, we'll have different things going on, volleyball, and then football. We'll be doing things throughout the summer, and then we're doing some flag football on Fridays just to have fun. I think actually me and Coach Humphrey are going to go out there with one of my assistants and go play and just have a good time, run our plays, and hopefully.
Are you ready, Coach? Are you
I'm
psyched?
ready. I'm ready. I just hopefully I don't get hurt. I'm getting a little bit. I'm not too old, but I'm starting to feel it sometimes.
Well,
so
it wouldn't be
all
good if you got hurt. That's for sure.
Well, you got to persevere.
That's right.
You got to go through. So.
How important is the community involvement in your program?
And that's something that community is huge in everything.
It is,
especially when you live in a small community.
Yep, I agree.
Next Friday we're doing our community event, and I think that's very important to let not only our students know, but the community know that hey, we're all in this together, and we're working together. On the other part of that, in my opinion, I don't think it's not about winning. In general, I mean, obviously I want to win every game.
You bet you do.
And I think the kids want to win every game.
You bet.
But I think overall, it's not really. High school sports is not about just winning games. High school sports is about a sense of community, learning how to persevere, and hopefully when we get them through, coming in and working hard towards a goal, going through their sports, working towards a goal, learning how to deal with disappointment and how to come back from that. That we can send them out into the community to go work and be dependable workers that people can count on and know that hey, they're going to give their best, and sometimes that isn't going to be good enough, but they're still going to keep going.
And that is absolutely true. I was involved in sports in a small community, and being a little guy, I was only 110 pounds, but I loved to compete, and it definitely helped me when I graduated from college to be competitive in the business field. And I mean, I'm serious about that. I was not the greatest student in the world, but that competitive spirit and that social commitment and working as a team makes you a better person. I'm just telling you, it really does.
And the other thing I think is important, within the community, and I know there's other communities that I've heard of doing this, is weight training is important. Working hard towards a goal is important. And I know that, we have a lot of our kids will go work during the summer.
You bet.
And, I've heard of other communities where they, the bosses are like, did you go work out today? Are you getting ready, for your next season? Are you getting ready,
You bet.
And I've actually heard of people saying, no, I didn't go work out and then come back and come to work. But I think that's part of that whole community thing is that, we're all in this together. When Minneapolis High School does good and they're talking about them wherever it's at, last year we had Catch Kansas down here and they were talking about it, and that was good for everybody. That was
Well,
good for the
and-
town. That was good for the school. That was good for.
In a small town, a lot of the social atmosphere of a small town revolves around the sports in that high school.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's an important part of a community. When's weight training going to start this summer?
We'll start June 6th. Now, I'm sure I've got some sophomores that are really fired up about it, so they may come in a little bit early.
That's great.
Just
That
kind
is
of we'll
great.
work some stuff out.
Yeah.
But June 6th is when we're going to start. Guys, the time's going to be the same, 6:45 until 7:30-ish, and then girls will come in around 7:30. And then we have started our middle school, which we've been doing the last 2 years. And that's had pretty good turnout, too, that we do that about 10 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
And our middle school comes in. And now that weight training is scaled back quite a bit because they're still growing and learning
Yeah.
what to do. And to me, that's the biggest thing is I want them coming in. I want them learning how to move properly, how to control their body through different planes. And, if we don't get super strong, especially in our younger 7th and 8th grade, that's fine.
You bet.
Can I squat properly? Can I run properly? Can I learn how to land
Yeah.
properly when I jump?
You
Then
bet. That's real important.
Yeah, we're helping them, getting them stronger through different planes, and then we're also helping them, stay healthy.
Okay.
And that's
That's
our
what it's all
overall goal.
about.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very
So,
much.
yeah. No, thank you.
Thanks, John. And that's our program today from Unified School District 239. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.